our people, you know how we do as black people. We start, we just throw it in the bag. We start charging these credit cards up. We start buying stuff to make us feel good because we start buying cars and stuff we don't need. We buy all our wants and not take care of our needs. So we're gonna have a young lady on here today to talk about credit repair. My girl, my family, my girl, Kaali Cohen. Kaali Cohen, sorry.
For Kaali.
What up, son? What up? That's it.
How you doing?
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Listen, so our people. Like I was just saying, like we have a lot of people out here. We start charging up these credit cards and stuff like that, and then we wonder when we try to go purchase a home or something that we really need instead of what we want. We have issues. So can you tell us, like, how can people be aware, like, to understand, educate? Can you educate people on what should they do with their credit and how important it is to have credit over cash and stuff like that?
Well, the first thing, Damon, is one of the things you said about the holidays. The holidays, we usually get hit, especially in our community. We get hit in November. We go out for Thanksgiving. We go out and we buy this big old meal that we typically spend on 2 weeks worth of groceries, right? So we go out, we buy that big meal. And then the next day is Black Friday. We got to catch all the big sales because, we got to do it up big. And in reality, rich people, they move in silence. They don't buy all the glitz and glam that we do, but we move to where we have to be seen. So Black Friday tends to be a big day for us. And so we tend to spend December's bill money in November, and then we start playing catch up in January, February, and March. And so the problem is, if we look back and use COVID as an example, COVID hit us in March. That was right after that holiday season. And so you got a lot of people that got laid off, lost their jobs, didn't have any cash. And credit was important because if you didn't have a job and you had good credit, you can go in and you could still survive. Or if you had a savings, if you knew how to budget, if you had, a nest egg. But most people got caught with their pants around their ankles, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about credit is important. One of the things that I say is that money is key, but credit holds conversations. And that's the thing that we tend to not understand. We don't understand what type of conversations we should be having and what our money can in fact do for us. And so when you talk about credit, it's the difference in going and buying a $20,000 car and paying $25,000 for it and paying $40,000 for it because your credit is jacked.
Yeah.
Right? Because they
take advantage of you when your credit is poor. They hit you with a higher interest rate.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And when you talk about, especially within communities of color, the education system has failed us in so many different ways, but it definitely has failed us in the educational system because they didn't teach us about credit. There's so many things that they didn't teach us about.
Exactly.
They didn't teach us about credit. So we don't understand credit. We don't understand how to manage money because most of us didn't have money.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'm sorry, D. I know somebody that has a brand new Honda Accord and they're paying like $950 a month for it because their credit was bad, got a high interest rate. But like you said, credit is important. It's going to get you that better deal, or it's going to get you that deal. Period.
Yes, and if they paying $950 for a Honda Accord, they should have 2 bins parked in their driveway.
Yeah.
And that's
let me ask you, how do we
understand? Right?
How do we take a more pragmatic approach to this? Because I think you hit on something I always think about as far as learning about credit. Oftentimes, I think we become reactive. We don't know how credit works until we get in credit trouble, until we get in debt. So if you're speaking to somebody right now who's probably 16, 17, 18, 19, where they're about to go and maybe start exploring their first credit card or something, is there a certain age you should get your first credit card? What should be your first line of credit? Speak on that a little bit.
Well, you really having a credit card at a young age is good. My daughter is on a couple of my accounts. Hopefully she's not listening now, but she's on she's on about 3 or 4 of my cards, including my American Express card. And the reason that I did that is because I wanted to begin establishing credit for her, establishing a credit history for her, so that when she goes to establish her own credit, she's a sophomore in college now, when she goes to establish her own credit, she'll have some type of credit history. So there's nothing wrong with establishing credit early. The problem is we have to know how to use credit. And initially, for me, I tell people, one, when I talk to people, I talk more than just credit. I like to look at finances from a holistic standpoint, right? I like to teach people about budgeting. I like to teach people about, let's fix your credit, but let me also teach you how to maintain it. Let me teach you how to budget, and then let me teach you how to save, because those are things that are important. And I think that everybody should have a credit card, if for nothing else, for emergency purposes. Mm-hmm. If you have a credit card for emergency purposes, something that you aren't using, when something happens that's unexpected, you have a go-to if you don't have that cash on hand, right? Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, if you have a 15, 16-year-old, you have good credit now, and you have a good credit line, you can put your teenager on your account to begin establishing credit for them. And that's what our counterparts do. They start their kids up. By the time they're 18, 19 years old, they have excellent credit. Yeah. Not because they've had a job, but because someone has put them on their trade lines.
Yeah, I try to do that. I tried to do it with my nephew, but he started pledging, and I paid for his whole Phi Beta Sigma fraternity on my Amex card. I did it, but then I messed up. I didn't realize, Kaali, the one thing I didn't realize, I got to put a limit on this credit card. So
you don't even have to put a limit on it. What you can do is, and so this is the other thing that people don't understand. People think that if one of the biggest misconceptions is that, and I learned it this way, so I learned from the School of Hard Knocks, is that if you have a credit card, you have to use that card every month and then pay on that card. You don't. You can have a card and never touch it, because your credit score, when they're looking at your utilization. So quick example, if you have a credit card with the limit of $100, you shouldn't use no more than $25 of that credit card, right? So that's 25% of that utilization of that card, but you don't have to use anything. So if you're not using that card at all, then that's going to boost your credit score because you have a high utilization. So those are things that you need to put into perspective and need to understand. You don't have to use your card. You don't have to use it every month to pay your Hulu bill, to put gas on, to do any of those things, especially if you're trying to use it. And sometimes we use credit cards to help build people's credit scores. We have them actually go out and get cards to help establish credit history, because that's something that's important that you need. You need a credit history.
Is it true that you should never pay it to zero?
I'm sorry?
Is it true that you should never pay it to a zero balance?
No. Okay. You don't have to have any balance on your card at all. Oh, okay. There's nothing wrong with having a zero balance on your card. Actually, that works in your favor.
Yeah, I did that. I did it, and my score boosted high up. Another trick I did, Kaali, was like I had a business before, right? And then it's so funny. It was this year, and I used to always buy stuff on my Amex card. And one day I was driving. This is just before COVID just hit. Amex contacted me, since you had a business before. They asked me to get a business credit card, and they put me onto the game. Said use everything on your business card, and you clear up your credit. And my score shot up crazy. I don't think I use everything on a business card. Nothing hits my credit.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. We should all have LLCs.
Yeah,
What you guys are doing, have an LLC, put it under a business. One of the big things, like everybody was upset. Now, let me first say, I'm not a Trump fan, but one of the things that—
Make sure you clarify that.
I'm not a Trump fan. However, I looked at it from the perspective that we were so angry with him with the amount of taxes that he paid, and really he just went through and he read and said, okay, how can I get over? What is it that I can do? And he
knew how to
exploit the laws to his he used the laws to his advantage.
He exploited. He knew how to exploit loopholes. That's what that's what he does.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's why I tell everybody, get an LLC, put everything under your business, file taxes under your business, get you a DUNS number, increase your credit score so that then you can have business trade lines.
Yeah. Your cousin just asked a good question. Is it worth getting? Oh, I missed it. Is it worth getting a credit card that gives you points or something like that? I got to go back.
That offers points.
The office points.
Is it worth it getting a credit card that offers points?
Yeah, my screen's all over the place.
Sorry. It depends. I mean, if you're getting the card just for the points, it depends. What's the interest rate? What's the purpose of the cards? One of the do's and don'ts I tell people right now, especially during the holiday season, if you have a rewards card that has rewards or points, like you said, your American Express card, why not take advantage of it right now and activate it during the holiday season? You're automatically getting 10, 20%, sometimes 25% off of things that you're purchasing when you use that card. The key is that whatever you put on that card, make sure that you have the money in the account that you can allocate towards that card, and not that you're allocating that money from something else. Because if you're taking money that's allocated from something else, then you don't have that money and you shouldn't be spending it, right?
Yeah. You said something very interesting that I noticed. You said that we should start getting our children ready with a credit history. I mean, that's, putting them on your credit card or whatever, you know what I mean? At what point do you take them off and get them started with their own,
When they're 18.
When they're 18.
When it depends on how long, if you've had them on there for a while, once they turn 18, then you can open up cards in their name, their own cards, if they have built a credit history, depending on how long you've had them on. Because once you turn 18, like once you go to college, they bombard you with credit cards. If, for those of us that go away to college, so you're at 18, you can apply for your own card, but you may still want to keep them on your card to continue to boost their credit score. So every situation is different. So when I talk to people, I take a complete look at what their situation is in order to make recommendations. But if you have a child that you start at 16 years old, by the time they're 18, get them their own card. You may want to keep them on your card and just not give them the card.
So, go ahead. Right, you about to say something, right?
Yeah, I was going to just see if she could explain to the viewers about what is considered a good credit score.
A good credit score by standard is 700, and a great credit score is 800, 850.
Wow.
So a lot of times we look at a good credit score as being 720 because that's the mark that before COVID, you could buy a house. If you had a 720 score, they can get you in a house at a high interest rate, but you could buy a house. And that was kind of like the scale that was used. But now since COVID has hit, that number has increased to 650. But when you look at big lenders like Chase and Wells and Bank of America, they're looking at people to have 700 credit scores, just at the bottom line, 700 credit score and still a high interest rate. So I tell people at least get a 700, but you want to strive for a 750, 800.
How many charges? How do charges affect that? Like, you have charge-offs or whatever. How many charge-offs do you need or whatever? Or how's that going to stop you from getting a 700 or getting good credit,
Well, if you have a whole lot of charge-offs, write-offs, then that's going to affect your credit negatively because that's going to show a history of you not being fiscally responsible. And so people aren't going to trust you to pay them back their money. And all credit is someone loaning you money to do whatever you want to do with. In exchange, you paying them back at a higher rate than what you got it.
Right. How long does that stay in your credit, though? How long does it stay in your credit?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah. So, Kaali, listen.
Yes.
Go ahead. You said, however. I'm gonna ask you a question.
However, there are certain situations where you may have charge-offs, you may have different things on your credit that we may be able to get removed. And so I tell everybody that I make no guarantees when I work with people and working with them on their credit. But there's a lot of times we can get things off of your credit because they're not documented properly. And so if it's not documented properly, or if you have a charge off that took place 4 years ago, and then it's been sold to someone else, and then it shows up as something new, then that's not valid. That's illegal, right? And that's what happens a lot of times. Creditors will sell your file, and then it'll start all over again. So something that was 6 years now shows up as being fresh. And so those are things that we have to go through. It's illegal to dispute, and those things may come off your credit altogether. The other thing is we have situations where people talk on the phone with creditors, and creditors say, well, pay me X amount of dollars and this will be taken care of. But then that impacts a person's credit score negatively because it still stays on your credit as being late. So we like to go through and say, okay, if you're going to negotiate it, let's put it in writing. And if I pay you X amount of dollars, then this is going to be taken care of and it's going to come off my credit. So it's not going to continue, because it doesn't make any sense for you to pay something and it still impact you negatively, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead, D. I'm sorry.
The question was like, like this is the Black and Latino. We have Black and Latino people in this on this podcast watching. You put stuff in your kids' names when they're young. We put the phone bill, gas bill, light bill. You know how we do as people.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm a young person, my daddy put the water bill in my name when I was 4. How can I clear that up since daddy never paid the water? We couldn't wash up.
You contact somebody like me, and then we'll put something together and we go through and we prove that you weren't even old enough to have that bill. So it's different steps and it's different language that we use to go through, and we pretty much leverage the Fair Credit Reporting Act that was established. So we go through and we leverage that and we use that against them to help you. So if you had that situation and you contact somebody like me and you let me go in and we look at all of that and we prove, there's a process and we go through and we prove that that's not you, and that comes off your credit report.
Let me ask you a question. When you sit as a charge off or something like that, do you and it stays on you for 7, does that mean that you can reopen a line of credit with, let's say, a credit card or the same credit card company, or how does that work?
So you're saying, for example, if you have, let's just say, Capital One. So if you have an account with Capital One and you haven't paid that bill and they charge it off, they write it off as uncollectible. So your question is, after 7 years, can I go open an account with Capital One again?
Capital One, yeah.
Possibly not. It depends on how you are in their system. You may be in their system even after the 7 years, or you may be out of their system and they may say, okay, 7 years have passed and we'll give you, another chance. But they're not just looking at that charge off. They're also looking at the rest of your credit history, everything that has happened between those 7 years and right now.
Yeah. One of the traps in our community. I'm sorry, Rod.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One of the traps in our community, and this used to happen early on with a lot of younger people, especially in Queens, New York. There are places that people see a car, and you'll have a sign out front that says all credit accepted, no credit, bad credit, whatever. And I think a person would go in there and they would run them through about 200 different banks. And all of those inquiries would be on their credit report, which is damaging. Is that something that you've had to sort out for people and that people need to be aware of? Or is that a big issue?
Yes, you shouldn't have more than typically at most 4 inquiries over a 2-year period, especially if you have not been approved. If you have 4 inquiries and you've been approved, that's totally different. But if you have anywhere over 4, 2 is typically what they look for over a 2-year period, 2 inquiries every 2 years. However, if you have 14, 16 inquiries, and matter of fact, I just looked at someone's account credit stuff the other day, and they had like 16 inquiries. And I said, well, did you get approved for any of these? And they said no. So you have 16 hits for something that you didn't get approved for. So now we have to go through and challenge those and have those removed from your credit report. And you can get those inquiries removed from your credit report, especially if you were not approved for the credit. Now, I would tell anybody listening that if you got approved for the credit, you wouldn't want to challenge that, because then they may close your account.
So real quick, somebody in the chat said, not sure if I missed this info, but when it comes to paying down debt, is it beneficial to pay credit cards down to 0 if that's the goal to raise your credit score, to pay down to 0?
To pay down your credit score to increase your credit score is going to depend on a lot of different things. So one is going to look at your utilization. It's going to look at your payment history. It's going to look at how much your credit line is. So it's a lot of different things. So I would have to say on a case-by-case basis. I mean, paying down your credit, you may have an overall credit limit of $5,000 and you have $1,000 that you're using, then paying down that credit card may not really be a big issue, because that isn't impacting you. The thing that may be impacting you is the late payments.
Yeah.
So that's
Let me ask you
that's a case by case basis.
Because I, from me talking to people that I know, I think the most common thing from the people that I talk to is that they have like 30 days late, 60 days late, 90 days late. But it was paid, but it still was late. How difficult is it to get those late negative reports on your credit report?
Sometimes it depends on your relationship with that particular vendor. Sometimes we can get those altered depending on how long you've been a customer of that particular vendor. Sometimes you can't. So sometimes we have to look at other ways of boosting your credit score. And that might be increasing your trade lines. That may be, you talked about our target community here, the Black and Latino community. A lot of times we rent, right? We don't own. And so we typically pay our rent on time because we need a roof over our head. So one of the things that we do is that we have the capabilities of going through and doing a thing called Credit My Rent, which we can actually go through and have your on-time rent used to help increase your credit score.
Somebody asked the question. Somebody asked the question. Debt to income is a huge factor in scores increase. Yes or no?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah.
Is the debt to income a huge factor in scores increasing, or is that correct? Your debt to credit ratio.
Yes. If you owe $100,000 and you only make $80,000, you're using more money.
Yeah, your debt ratio is too high.
So yes, you are a huge risk. So that's where that utilization comes in. So if you have a card that's $5,000, and you're using $4,099 of it, yes, you're a huge risk. Nobody is pretty much going to look at giving you additional credit because to them, you're using everything you have. There's no cushion.
Well, let me ask you this question. And I wanted to know, because I learned this recently, and I want to make sure I wasn't giving erroneous information. I paid off a car in July, and someone told me your score may dip a little bit. Somebody said, you need an installment loan. My understanding now is you need different types of loans, that they look at credit history, the age of loans, different types of loans. So I thought it was just credit was just one slate, but actually it looks like there's different things that they look at on your credit report. Can you speak on that a little bit, or was I giving erroneous information?
Yeah, credit history is very important. And that's what I was talking about when we saying about opening credit lines for your teenagers, because it's showing a credit history. So for instance, when a person buys a house, when that house is paid, when you're paying on that house, it'll show how long you're paying on that house. So that's credit history. So it says, okay, this person can be trusted because they're paying this amount over this amount of time. Paying off your car isn't so much a bad thing, especially if you paid it off and you paid it off on time, because it's saying, okay, you've been paying this loan for 4, 5, 6 years, right? You've been paying on time. So you're seen as a good risk, not a negative risk. So then if you go back and you buy another car, it's showing that history. And what they're looking to see is that history positive? Is this a person that we can trust with our money? Are we going to get our money back? Are we going to have to go take that car? What's the risk factor? And that's really what your credit score is. They're looking at what's the risk factor.
Let me answer your question, Kaali. How does when a person files for bankruptcy, how does that affect the credit? How can it come back from bankruptcy? And what's the benefits of filing for bankruptcy also?
Well, I'm not a bankruptcy attorney. So I cannot tell you the benefits of that. But bankruptcy does stay, bankruptcy, foreclosure, those are things that stay on your credit for 7 years. Okay. However, once again, there can be some circumstances that you may have that you can actually go in and have those removed.
Okay.
How do student loans affect?
Yeah. No, Derek, go ahead.
Yeah, how do student loans affect your credit? Because I understand that they're not able to be discharged or whatever in bankruptcy.
Okay, so typically you cannot get student loans off your credit, but one of the things that you can do is you can begin to consolidate. You can look at consolidating those loans. You can look at working out different arrangements with the companies where you can make payments that are favorable to you that you can make on time. And then that begins to enhance your credit. And in doing so, you can negotiate it in such a way where the negative impact of not paying your student loan can removed from your credit report after, say, maybe you pay your loan for 6 months on time. Then the agreement may be that company then removes the negative payments off of your credit report, which will then increase your credit score.
So, real quick, it was a question about Capital One. It's a long question. Got to go through it. Did anybody see it from Monique? I know I used a Capital One card, and then it posted. I paid it off. Okay, thank you, producer Jamie. You put it right there.
See, we got the best producer in the world.
I had to look through the chats. Okay, sorry about that.
Yes. So that's the thing. So depending on what day your bill is paid or what day they report, if you pay it the day before they report, so say you pay it, say you use $100 and you pay that $100 a day before they report. If you find out their reporting date, then it doesn't impact your credit score negatively, right? But if you pay it a day after they reported it, then you may see a dip in your credit score because they're reporting your credit utilization. You've used more of that capital. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and the rewards. Listen, I have a Capital Reward. I have a Capital One card, and I use the rewards. Like I'll let it build up, and I'll take it and I use it to make my payments towards my card.
Yeah. Do you think any credit card you like more than others? Like me, I'm a big Amex person. I love Amex. It's the most. When I have anything charges feel like it's fraudulent. They handle it quick. I like Chase also, and Discover has no yearly fees. So those are my three favorite of all cards. You have any favorites?
I like Amex. I like Amex personally for the same reason. One, it forces me to pay whatever I use that month back, right? So I tend not to spend what I don't have or what I don't want to spend. And so I'm the type of person, like, my wife used to say to me, I used to always say, well, I don't have any money. And then things would happen and I would pull out cash and she'd be like, well, I thought you said you didn't have any money. I was like, well, I don't have any here, but I have this, this stash over here that I don't look at as money. It's just like it's my go-to if I need it, right? It's that break in case of an emergency. And so for me, I try not to spend what I don't have so that I don't have to go into that break into emergency. So Amex kind of keeps me on point. So I tend not to use it if I don't have it in that particular account. However, Capital One is also a very good card for people that are starting off because it gives you different rewards and they tend to work with you. So it's a card that I would recommend for people that are just starting off, especially a secure card for just starting. Yes,
I strongly agree. They do give out credit. They give a lot of good programs too. Somebody just wrote. Oh shoot! Damn, these things popping up so fast. Hold on one second.
Good information.
Private loan will history as a positive mark on my credit score in a long time. Okay. So Amira, I hope I'm saying your name right. Hopefully the agreement that you did was not done over the telephone. It was something that was done in writing. And when it was negotiated, the terms that was negotiated indicate that this would come off of your credit report. If not, then you probably have paid it off and it may or may not impact your credit score because it was not properly negotiated.
That's good. Well, this one thing I love with Let's Chop It Up. Well, we get the education going on. We have some fun and jokes.
That's the point.
This is what I love. This is like real barbershop talk for everybody to know. That's how the guys chop it up in the shop and stuff like that.
Intellectual barbershop talk.
I got into this just because I'm by heart, by nature, I believe in mentoring people and I believe in teaching people. And I began working with family to get my family's credit up, to put them in a position to be able to do things. And then so, I always tell people to stop giving away everything. And when you make people pay for it, they respect it more. And so being retired now, this is kind of it's my way of giving back, but it's also my way of making you value and teaching you, like I said, not just getting your credit right, but helping you to maintain it and helping you to understand it.
Kaali, I want to ask this question, not so much what you charge, but how do you charge? When people go to get someone to work on their credit, because you hear people say you could do it yourself, but if someone's going to pay, what are they paying for? Is it per deletion or attempt? How does that work?
Okay, so the platform, I use a platform that charges by the month, and it's $89 a month. But to start people, we start with about $188 a month. And what that does is it gives you a portal, and in that portal, you get a lot of different things. So you get access to wills and trusts. So within our community, a lot of times we don't write wills, right? And so this gives you the ability to write wills. It also gives you a platform on there where I can go on with you and we can go through and create a budget. We can also create a debt repayment plan where you can go in there and put your debt in there. We can go through and analyze what your debt is. And so it gives you access to see what's going on. It also does the credit monitoring, which a lot of times people charge additionally. It does the identity theft, which people charge additionally, which we don't. And then when we go through and initially do your credit, we take everything at once. We challenge everything. So we don't say you have 18 things on your report for each agency. And we do 18 different letters for each agency. We go in and we take everything. Within 48 hours, we provide you with everything that's needed to send to all 3 credit unions. And we challenge all of those things at once. Because sometimes, even though things are valid, if they're on there incorrectly, if they can't validate it, then it has to come off. So it's a part of the process is making them say to me, yes, this is your account. This is late. This is why it's late. And here's all the documentation. So we're making them prove to us that this does belong to me and this does belong on this report. And if it doesn't, then it has to come off.
What's the biggest increase you've seen?
I've seen people jump from 528 over a period of 6 months to about 650.
Nice. 100-point swing.
That's a big lick. That's a big jump.
But it goes back to having whether or not you had incorrect information. Like I said, you have incorrect information on there. Pookie had their cable in your name.
Not Pookie enough.
I'm old school, man.
Pookie and not Pookie enough.
Pookie enough. Uncle John, Aunt Phil. Everybody done had their name. We done had something. We done had electricity. We done had cable. We done had cell phones. We done had all those things. And so sometimes some of those things coming off. Sometimes it's just a difference in the social security number being one off of somebody similar to yours. And it's the ability to get those things off. For some people just don't have any credit whatsoever. So then we have to establish credit. So we have to get them some type of credit history. And that's where things like Credit My Rent comes into play. If you've been paying your rent consistently on time, then we put you into a program and we go back up to 2 years and we can have 2 years worth of your rent history added as positive credit.
That's amazing to me. That sounds amazing to me. That's a changer to me, man.
Especially in our community, right?
Yeah.
Is that why they do Experian Boost and all that stuff that I hear?
Well, that's what you probably are thinking about is like a rapid restore is what they do. Like a rapid restore when you're trying to buy a house and the lender will do like a rapid restore. They'll go in and they'll do they'll do a couple different things and try and get you a rapid rescore, and it'll jump for maybe 2 weeks, long enough to get that qualifying number. But what I tell people that if you're looking to buy a house, get your credit repaired, start the process 6 months before you buy that house, because you cannot show any type of disputes or anything during that time, or you're not going to be qualified. So start the work in the beginning. Don't wait till you get ready to buy that car, buy that house, and then go in and find out that your credit sucks.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Why is Experian so damn hard to get your credit score up? Like TransUnion, they work with you. They seem like they from the hood. Equifax, maybe. You know what I'm saying? TransUnion, they boost your real quick. Equifax, you know, they understand.
Let me bless you right quick.
You gotta understand.
All right, let me bless you.
You gotta understand that these guys, it's a business, right? It's a business.
Experience though, they be like, yo.
Everybody doesn't report the same thing, you know. Have you ever realized that, for instance, your cell phone bill is never on your credit report until you don't pay it?
Till you don't pay it. That's right.
Right? It's a business, and they are in the business of just reporting negative things, especially TransUnion. Like that's where they make their money.
That's how they make
these cats, they make their money, and it's a matter of understanding how it works, understanding the game. You know, you gotta understand the game to play it.
That's right. Information is always key. That's the thing. Information is always key. But real quick, Kaali, is it good for people to have like Credit Karma and these apps on their phone? Any other apps you suggest to them to keep to understand how they credit?
First of all, first thing I'm gonna say is, you know, you gotta get my name right. You gotta say Kaali, because we're gonna
Kaali. I know what you're saying. I'm saying Kaali.
We're gonna kick you out the family.
I know. Listen,
in there.
We have the same issue with Rod and Kelvin.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right. Okay.
Calvin.
You mean Calvin?
He got a hard name to pronounce.
I got a hard name?
No, Kelvin got a hard name.
Yeah, he thinks the L is silent.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kaali. Go ahead, sister.
No, Credit Karma is good. It's good if you want to try and track what you have, but you also have to understand that everything is not on there, and it's free, right? So when you're getting free information, are you getting all the information? You know, they're giving it to you free, but in exchange, they're looking to get something. So whether it's gathering your information and selling it, whether it's trying to promote something like credit cards or loans or different things of that nature. So it's good to keep an eye on it. But like I said, the platform that I use typically when I get my clients in, we give them smart credit, which allows them to go in and does the same thing as Credit Karma. However, it gives us all the information, and it's not trying to sell them additional things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, so how can people find you? Because if they want to use your services, do you have a website you could promote for us and everything? How can we get your information?
Well, I have a, first of all, I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Credit Sense, CREDIT Sense, CENTS, like money, sense. Credit Sense on Facebook and Instagram. You can text me at 813-434-0755 or call, leave a message, and we can set up a free assessment. You can also go to my link tree at Credit Sense, one word, CREDITCENTS, and you can schedule a free consultation there. You can also find out about our credit counseling and financial counseling program. Like I said, I don't just deal with people to restore their credit. I also work with people to establish credit, also to help them. You know, I have some people that have like 720 scores that just say, hey, I need better help budgeting and learning how to understand and manage my finances. So I do that as well.
Well, good.
You gave your phone number like Mike Jones. Told him to text you. I'm like,
Mike Jones.
Listen, it's a business line, so the business line, it goes straight to my email, my notifications. So.
And look at that's how you write up there. Look at that LLC, write up them taxes for them taxes in business.
That's right. Everybody should have one. And I work with a group of tax professionals and realtors and lenders. We work together to try to get everybody qualified. And I definitely like to work with tax professionals that specialize in business tax, because when we go out to the H&R blocks and the Liberty taxes, we don't always get the qualifications or not the qualifications, but we don't always get the write-offs that we qualify for. So
one last one. Somebody wants to know who's your favorite family member?
Don't answer that.
I
I have a couple of them.
Oh,
but
Pookie. That's it.
Everybody got a Pookie.
But I tell you what, I will tell you what. I got this one family member that makes these masks since COVID hit that I love. You know, Masali, and I will say that she's my favorite mask maker. If I wore turbans, I'd be all over it. But my favorite mask maker.
Yo, sister, listen, thanks so much for coming on, man. People, if you have bad credit or just trying to establish credit or trying to make your credit even better, and like you said, financial literacy, that's where we have to get the information. This is a good sister to get the information from. Please contact her. I love you to death, cuz, all right?
Love you guys too. Thanks for having me on. And
all right, take care, cuz.
Anytime.